literally right when we started having the first conversations about, opening a restaurant. It wasn't just me, and it was my dream. But I immediately involved my brother and my partner, Chef Joe, because I understood the dynamic of having, multiple people with the same vision to be able to conquer everything you want. And I know there's a lot of individuals doing a lot of individual goals and accomplishments, but the kitchen has always been a team game. Restaurants are a team sport, and if you don't recognize that from the get, things get exponentially harder.
Folks, I'm super excited to be here together with a good friend, probably one of the first friendships that I had as I moved to the great state of Michigan back in 2017. My man, chef, restaurateur, I think serial entrepreneur when I think of John, because I know that this third restaurant he's got coming up, Basan Detroit, is literally just another one of those Lego chips that he's stacking in the empire that he and his brother and Chef Joe and the others are building. But John, Vermiglio, thank you, brother, for being together with me today.
Thank you. Really thrilled to be here.
Yeah. So many great things happening right now. And the list of people behind you, you're always so gracious and generous in recognizing the others on the team. I want to talk about team when we get started today, but I got to start with the first 4 questions I ask everybody.
Okay.
Favorite color?
Green. Favorite
afternoon snack?
Boy, that's a tough one.
Ask a chef what their favorite snack is.
I'm like eating scraps out there, whatever the heck I can find. So, and also my roots are not planted in fine dining by any stretch. We grew up eating a little different than that.
That's it, right?
Yeah. So little easy things excite me. Pizza bagels, love it. This is our starting off point. This is where the core
pizza
starts.
Bagels. I love it. Hey, look, 100 conversations I've had with people. The first time I heard pizza bagels.
Well, you're not going to see me out there eating a bag of mixed nuts. It's not. That's just not me. I can't do it. So yeah,
love it.
It's literally whatever comes across my plate.
Okay. So the green loving, pizza bagel loving kid, favorite childhood superhero.
Wasn't a huge superhero, dude, but I gotta go with probably Superman.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Last question. Everyone that I know in my life has a real passion, appreciation for certain music, certain artists, sometimes certain tracks. Favorite musician, record, or track?
I feel like this is probably disappoint a lot of people out there, and there's 2 of them in a close race. But I'm a huge Dave Matthews Band fan, and also a huge John Mayer fan. So again, music wasn't a huge part of my upbringing, and I grew up listening to what my mom listened to: Elton John, the Beatles, Billy Joel. I can hang with all of them. You see me singing the classics out there. But yeah, Dave Matthews Band. Still consistently listening, and I don't even he's released new music and I'm still listening to the late 90s, early 2000s. John was he was a great dude, and I'm still hanging on to him. Still got the hair gel. I'm still living the dreams from that time, and that's part of it for sure. So it's like a general feel good for me, and it brings that nostalgia back. So still actively listening, but now my radio doesn't work in my car. Let's be clear here. So the music's down low here.
My man is literally pouring every profit back into his people, his customers, his consistent clients at the restaurants, right?
That's right.
He doesn't even have a working radio.
Who needs it? Yeah. I ordered one of those Ford Broncos, and I've been waiting for 2 years. So if anyone from Ford's out there listening, let's get it going. I want my car.
COVID created a chip shortage.
Yeah. Not even a radio. But I listen to a lot of sports talk. That's my go-to. 97.1.
Love it.
The Ticket. Yeah, that's what I listen to.
I'll take it. So To clarify, though, before we come off of the Dave Matthews Band and John Mayer comment, which, yes, it did not warm me up at all. Samantha would not be upset with you. So it's okay. As long as Birdie likes it, like I can take it, right? I think she was pretty fanatical. It's never a
crowd favorite until I'm at the concert surrounded by everyone that does listen to it. I had an ex-girlfriend who had wildly great taste in music, and she would provide me with music all the time, CDs, of course, back in that day. And she really kept me like current and on there. And then once that ended, that was it. So I still have a few of those CDs somewhere around there. Just not a working record to play them on now.
So. That's awesome. So let's jump right into the way that you have begun to build this mini empire of restaurants, of places that people aspire to go to enjoy company with other people that they care about and respect. Love what you did with Grey Ghost, second best. You've got a third project coming up, but I want to start not with the actual projects. I want to start with the way you've built your teams. And I say that because when I think of like the 4-man ladder group and all the awesome people that, you know, we've been blessed to meet on your teams throughout the recent years, I'm just like, I always love them. I'm just like, a host, love that person.
Yeah.
You know, bartender, love that person. You know, bar manager, love that person, right? Every experience has always been special. I think that says a lot about you. Says maybe a lot about you, Chef Joe, your brother, everybody else involved in the group. And I know I'm omitting names, but tell me about your philosophy in finding good people and helping them be great.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the kind words for sure.
No doubt.
Because that is far and away our greatest asset. And I know that's something that you echo in your sentiments to your team as well. But yeah, we've been wildly lucky to assemble the team that we have. And, you know, it stems back many years, you know, literally right when we started having the first conversations about, you know, opening a restaurant. It wasn't just me, and it was my dream. But I immediately involved my brother and my partner, Chef Joe, because I understood the dynamic of having, you know, multiple people with the same vision to be able to conquer everything you want. And like, you know, I know there's a lot of individuals doing a lot of individual goals and accomplishments, but you know, the kitchen has always been a team game. Restaurants are a team sport. And, you know, if you don't recognize that from the get, things get exponentially harder. And I've worked with chefs who did, you know, open their own restaurant and it was just them and they worked themselves to death. You know, it's just too much. So, you know, now that we have the establishment and even, you know, when we were building Grey Ghost, like we set up a card table outside the restaurant and we just posted up on every, you know, job looking site you could get to that we would be having open interviews. We just sat out there hoping for the best. Wasn't a great turnout, but, you know, we were really selling them on the same belief systems and mindsets that we had. So it's an easy sell when you actually stand behind what you do, when you're a part of it. And that's why I'm still there all the time. So now, you know, fast forward to it, it's a snap decision for me, right? I need somebody that knows how to serve food or shake a cocktail or, you know, flip a pancake. Yeah. But I also need someone who has the same vision as me, that has the same mindset as us, that is, you know, that same goal oriented. And I can tell that right off the rip. I'm not like some magic genie or anything, but like, you know, those first impressions, that like snap decision on once I meet someone, I'm like, all right. I mean, just did it yesterday. Just hired someone same day. I'm like, I like what you got going. Let's do it.
Tell me about, so I love it, right? I mean, I love the fact that it really did begin with the vision. And that's why I always, you know, we're in such different industries, but, you know, there's so many things that you'll say like as just like side conversation to me. I'm like, man, that's exactly the way I look at it, you know, and it started with this vision and then you started putting together your key people. You brought in people that you really cared about, respected, loved, that you knew would respect your vision, I assume. And then you set up some basic requirements. Obviously, the skill sets are important. So I like the fact that you're saying, hey, like, look, first I need them to be able to do the actual job. But then the first impression, what is it in the first impression that you're looking at that you're saying, man, we're on the same wavelength here?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it, particularly in this day and age, is just that level of like humanness and being real and genuine and, you know, not fake. And I think there's so much of that now, and so many people playing a role that they aren't necessarily in. And I think there's an aspect of that in being able to grow. But I also think there's certain, you know, allure of people who are just real and genuine. And, you know, I don't know if I can pinpoint exactly which part of it, you know, that I see, but yeah, you got to kind of have that warm and fuzzy feeling. And usually, and not every time, and I love when people surprise me, but typically speaking, once I start to really peel back the layers of people and you start to see, you know, what's underneath, you can generally say like, all right, I know this person's going to be here for a long time. I know they're going to be here for a short time. I know they're going to please me or they're not going to.
Yeah.
So, and in the restaurant game, and I'm sure just like here too, you kind of get all walks of life. And you never know where the backgrounds are. So hard work, I think, is really my biggest thing. It's like if you can just put your head down and work and have a genuine understanding of what you are doing and your surroundings, like go stay off your phone too.
Yeah, you know, well, yeah, I mean, look, 100%. Look, one of my just simplest pet peeves is walking through the firm. You know, we've got 20,000 square feet up here. You got 80 to 100 people, and people are on their phone, not to reach out to a client or someone to add value, but to be on the phone. And it's like, oh man, you're killing me, Smalls. You're just killing me with that habit, right? Let's park that for a second. But I wanted to recognize that that's in every industry today. And it's an issue with humanity, right? The just staring at the phone. You spoke about teamwork and great restaurants that are creating great experiences, a great product. It really comes down to great teamwork. At the 4-man ladder group, it's my man Will that rounds out the 4, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, good. I was sorry, because if it wasn't, then Will, I just made myself look stupid. I maybe offended you or John or someone else. But, you know, yeah, I mean, I think about even my experiences with Will, when I see him just as like one of the key operators, and even in private experiences, the way he just comes in, it's like air traffic control, if you will, right?
He's a stealth assassin.
Yeah, I mean, he's a gentlemanly assassin. Yeah. And I love that. Talk to me about how you guys divide and conquer the work at the restaurant group.
Sure. And you should note that Will, you know, Dave and I, of course, started this restaurant dream many years ago. Mm-hmm. And Chef Joe came along about 2009, 2010. And Will was sort of added into the mix shortly after my brother moved back here in like 2014 or something. Drunken evening at Hamlin Pub in Royal Oak, and Will was bartender there, and Dave was like, yeah, we're gonna open a restaurant, me and my brother, like, you gotta be a part of it. And Will's like, yeah, all right. Yeah. And then Dave kind of like followed, and then Dave like followed him to every restaurant that he went to, which for Will was like, he's opened all of the great restaurants in Detroit. I mean, the guy's a complete badass behind that bar. So, you know, as it got closer and became more real, you know, we obviously continued to court him and threw things his way. And, you know, he worked his way in based off of a big investor that he was going to join into the investment with. Yes. He was going to be a biggest fundraise. He's coming in. He's like, I'm bringing this guy. I want a partnership, you know, because I didn't even know the guy. I had only met him like one time. Mm-hmm. And Dave, of course, knew him superficially as on the either side of the bar at the hands of alcohol. And we did. And we were like, all right, well, we need his money. And we know we need somebody that can bartend, because we have, you know, Dave doing the business side of it and the financials. And we got Joe and myself running, you know, the kitchen. And we can also oversee the front of the house. But we, you know, I can pour a shot. I can crack a beer open. That's about the extent of my knowledge behind the bar. So we threw him in, and then his guy ended up bailing. It's a sweet deal for Will, because, you know, he didn't end up coming to the table with anything besides his incredible skill. And like, I look back now and I'm like, you know, because obviously you think about it, right? I'm going to either own 33% of this thing, or I'm going to own 25.
Yes.
Actually 26 and a half.
Yes.
Got the top investor tiebreaker right here. No big deal. But you know, you don't know. And I'm like, well, we need this. So like, let's do it. And you know, it's comical to think about now because we would be nothing without that guy, and nothing without each of the players that we've been able to acquire as we've moved on. So now a 4-man ladder has 3 employees, which is crazy. Awesome. Yeah. So we've got a director of operations now. We've got a director of guest relations. We've got a director of events. So, you know, it's weird now to wrap my brain around, and it's still hard to get away from the, you know, like I want to touch everything. I want to do everything because it's my little baby. Like we built this thing, but I'm also trying to let that team do those things. And I'm trying to build that, you know, next generation, right? 'Cause if we're not doing that, if we're not working to advance our team, then like, what's the point? You know, so
there are 2 themes I'm hearing in your comments. I want to hit on the first one, which came to mind, which to me it's, you know, to run any successful organization, whether you want to be in the restaurant space or anything else, you got to win the war for talent.
Yeah.
And it sounds like from the minute that David met Will and had the Will experience, it was evident to Dave that Will needed to be a part of the future of your organization.
Yeah.
And that's powerful. You know, I think there's a lot to be said for, you know, trusting your gut. And when you meet a great person, just knowing like, no, this person's great. And I shouldn't be a snob or play hard to get or be passive aggressive about it. Like, dude, you are great. And we're going to do something great. And I want you to be a part of that. I think that's a really awesome story because I think so many small business owners could benefit today from having more confidence and courage to just meet a person and on the spot say, man, I think we could do something pretty special together. Yeah. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, you know, sometimes it's so, especially now, it's so easy to play a role or play a part and say the right things. And we've certainly been duped by interviews that went, you know, unbelievably well. And I'm like, walk out and I'm like, that was like the greatest interview I've ever sat through. And then like the person comes along and you're like, oh, that totally got duped, you know? And so like, you know, social media, phone, everything's allowing you to be whoever the hell you want to be. So like to be able to see through that, past that, and hope that like you're right about your general instinct of those people is, it's huge. I'm lucky to be able to have somewhat of the ability to do that. And also to understand that like, if I'm going to get to where I'm trying to go, it's not going to be everyone follow me and do exactly like I say, but I just need them to listen and be inspired and move in the same general direction because they're going to have people below them that need to listen to them.
That's so you just led me in very well to the second point, and I want to be clear with anybody listening. JV walks in today, and I'm like, hey, are there any 3 specific things 2 or 3 things you want to talk about? And he's like, I don't know. And he's like, I know somebody sent me some questions, but I didn't look at them. So look, this conversation is not choreographed.
None.
But you teed me up very well for my second point. My second point was allowing people to focus on their zone of genius and live their greatest gift. And so, you know, when you can bring someone like a Will in and again, create the Will experience in opening up Grey Ghost, then second best, which is still first best in my heart. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, just seriously, like the lyrical genius experiences that occur in second best with the music selection. I'm just like, how could you want to hang out anywhere else in Detroit if you want to listen to great music?
There's a reason there's no jukebox in second best. Can't be trusting it. Who Let the Dogs Out? It's only funny one time.
Yeah, and don't play over. John Mayer at 1 a.m.
No, there's a reason I don't touch the audio either. Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I think you know when you pull this team together of gentlemanly assassins and you let everyone run in their lane of genius, you know, there's a lot to be said about that because you reference control, right, and trusting, and where do you think? I think that's something that all of us struggle as business owners or entrepreneurs. It's, you know, trusting that someone else could possibly love and obsess about our vision as much as we do. Where or when do you think you began to develop the emotional fortitude to not overwhelm your teammates in areas that they're better than you at?
I think, I spent some time in a lot of other kitchens prior to running my own, of course.
Yeah.
And
which was your favorite? Your favorite. You skipped walking into this kitchen every day.
Well, that's a great question. Probably Table 52, which was Art Smith's restaurant.
Love it.
Just in terms of like, I was in a really good space there, and I had come fresh out of working at Charlie Trotter's, and the most formative period of my life. Yeah. I lived in a lot of fear during that time and stress and anxiety, which is kind of what led, it's literally led me down to be the person that I am today, that time in that kitchen. But, I came out of it, and I learned a ton. I grew a ton while I was working for Art Smith, and I traveled the world with him.
I love it.
And the restaurant was just it was like a little Southern home. And he was just, the hospitality was overflowing, and like people were pumped. And it was like fried chicken and mashed potatoes, and it was fried catfish. And so it was just a really like big comfort thing that, that was probably a lot that led to it. And like I said, I had come in and had a lot of respect already kind of thrown at me. And I look at it now and I'm like, I was an absolute terror, and I was flipping plates, and I was dumping, gallons of pickling liquid over people's stations after they cleaned it. And like, I did some really harsh stuff. So I had a lot of harsh realities during that time, but did love it.
So getting out of the way of your people who are super talented and
sorry, we got totally
I do that often.
Fried chicken and mashed potatoes.
I'll always bring you back.
But yes, I think it is hard to fathom that somebody can have that same vision and that same drive that you do. That's going to lead with the same, like, I got to get it done because I'm the last straw. Yeah. So the kitchens that I came up in, I always had that mentality, and I witnessed the people that didn't, and I watched them come and go, and I watched them, stay complacent or stay in the same area. And those of us who did take that level of ownership, we were the ones who got to rise through the ranks. So it's hard though now as the owner and as, the person at the top, to think that people can do that. But I try to remind myself, like, well, I did that. Yeah. I had that mentality. But also the talent that we have running, the bar and the kitchen at Second Best, and the bar and the kitchen at Gregos, and like that whole team, like, I have to bite my tongue and, kind of hold myself back from trying to put my finger into everything. And I can't now because it's growing. It's a beast of its own.
Too many tentacles.
But also like, everybody's just so wildly talented, and I think we underestimate everyone if we want to micromanage everything we do. I think sometimes if we can let them fly, they'll rise to the occasion, especially the good ones, right? So I try to bear that in mind. And I use my time on my ride home, even though I am listening to talk radio, totally in my head to kind of review and think about everyone. And then I try to have little conversations with each person to just kind of boost them up and kind of keep them aligned with my vision, I guess you could say. But yeah, I've been crazy lucky to have the people that we do, and the people that have stuck around as long as they have. I mean, my employee retention rate is insane for a restaurant. So totally humbling, and I try to just not screw it up every day.
What do you think? I mean, that's my impression has been, being in Michigan, there is healthy turnover in the restaurant business. My impression has been, right?
Yeah. Well, you're not wrong. Especially now, and that pandemic has really, it stopped time. And for those of us who are in the kitchen, like, that was something we never experienced before. Yeah. Of like, it's Friday night and I'm not doing anything. I'm not sweating my ass off making, steaks for 700 people. So then you started like, oh, okay, I see why, or what I could do with my time. And so I think in some regards it helped to weed out the people who are like, I'm not here for the long haul. This isn't necessarily what I'm after. Yeah. The commitment. But it also, I lost a lot of good people that, had been with me for a long time because they were like, they saw the light. And it's good. Like, I'm happy that they did that, but it also is tough. And now it's like, there's so many jobs that you can just be your own boss and drive around. Yeah. So like that like kind of lost soul that, you know, restaurants are notorious for having around, that was like, you know, doing a bunch of drugs and barely getting up for their shift, coming in and being like unbelievable. Yeah. And then like doing it all over again the next day. Like those people are, you know, they're not around anymore. They're clipping weed or delivering from DoorDash or, you know, whatever the case is. So for us, like, that's why I'm investing so much, particularly in the kitchen, into younger talent, because those are the ones who still have the drive. They don't, you know, have years of experience to hold resentment. Like, they're still young, they're eager. And for me, I just want to pass it on. Like, I want people to come up the same way I did. I want people to talk about their experience working at Grey Ghost the same way I do about the places that I
Why is that important to you? I've heard you make that comment before.
Yeah, and it's not about fame. It's not about, like, you know, leaving a legacy or anything like that. I think it's just knowing that I can look back and say, like, I did it the right way. Like, because that to me holds the world of, like, people respect me. They genuinely like me. They may get angry with me, but there's a general understanding that, like, I'm a good human and somebody that you can, you know, try to be a little bit like, I'd like to think. So knowing that people will speak fondly of their time there or make a reference to something, or even if they're just, you know, using some of my common phrases that I use probably entirely too often. But just to know that you had that impact, like, it's powerful shit.
Yeah.
It's powerful shit. And it's stuff like I didn't think about when I was young. Like, I guess I wasn't a very profound child. I just was so happy all the time. Yeah. So I wasn't looking at this, you know, half empty situation. It was always half full. Like, it's like, we're doing this thing. I'm happy. And so now to look back at it, it's been really enlightening to see that the people that stick out to me, the people that had that kind of an impact, and hopefully the impact that I'm having on, you know, other people.
Give us a few Johnisms. What are a few things that you feel like you repeat every day, every week? I say a lot of things are a disaster, which is you know, overused for sure. You know, use the term a lot, going down, when you're like busy as hell in the whatever facet of the restaurant. I'm sure in other industries as well. But, I use that entirely too often, not in the right application, because people are like, you're going down. And I'm like, I just use it to be like, I'm busy. Like, there's a lot to do. Like, I don't have time to be having this conversation. But it's, you know, total wrong nomenclature there. So, oh my gosh, if I walked around here and said that in a blue suit and white shirt. And let's just be clear, I wore a hoodie today for Vermiglio because I was like, this suit's for you. Look at this. This little diction in the back. This is as fancy as I get. He has a blazer on and I took my suit off. Yeah. I wanted to, I mean, this is as good as it. This is like a 10-year-old American Apparel sweatshirt, and the least grease-stained pants I could find. When I walk out of here, I'm literally going to walk around the hallway, and as people say hello, I'm going down. Yeah. Going down. Don't have time, going down. It works. Give me another Johnism. So I try to be the general cheerleader whenever I can. And even though I know, like, I'm like popping on the line when it's, you know, 8:30 on a Saturday night and everyone's just getting their ass kicked, and I'm yelling out, we're doing it. And my cooks do it all the time now. So I can hear it in the back. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. You know, and I just want people to know, like, hey, I'm here together with you, even though, you know, you might catch me talking to a guest. Yes. Maybe I'm ripping a shot because somebody bought me one. Yeah, I don't want to do that. You know, that's not what I'm after. But somebody has to. I'm doing it. But, you know, it's that level of, like, I live with this guilt because I just see all these people working hard, and restaurant work is not easy. I hate that it's still referenced as unskilled labor, because that's insane. I could list off some unskilled labor. Yeah. This is not one of them. But, you know, people just busting their ass. And so, like, for me, I can't not be a part of it. I can't not be doing it. So, like, if I'm there till the end, and I'm there till 2 a.m. I'm shutting the lights off and I'm mopping the floor. I'm cleaning the toilets way more than I should be as a restaurant owner. Sure. People do some gross shit at restaurants. Yeah. But, you know, there's a general literal guilt, and I try not to, and I try to wrap my brain around, like, I have a team and there's a reason that they do it. And I see, you know, fellow restaurant owners and other chefs that they're like,
Friday night and they're like, I'm leaving early. I'm going to the Pistons game. And like, I want to do that. But I also just feel guilty. You know, when I go on vacation, I don't post pictures because I don't want them to think like I'm busting my ass over here for this guy and he's sitting on the beach, you know.
Why is that your problem?
I don't think it is.
Why is someone else being 90% behind you on the conveyor belt of life your burden to bear?
I don't know. That's a really great question. I think there's a lot of times where I wish I didn't necessarily think like that, but it's also just like, you know, I always want everyone to feel like they have a reason to be working hard and they can see it, right? And like when you're on a hotline on a Friday night and you're going down and the owner's in there and he's just sitting there hanging out with his friends and you start to see like all the things that frustrate you and you get mad, like maybe not every night, but some nights, and you see it, or the restaurant or the owner's never around and you're like in the kitchen and you're like, well, we need a new, food processor, and the owner's just like, no, but you don't have any rapport with them. You never see him.
But do you do that?
No, hell no.
Do you say no to the equipment, the tools that your team needs?
No, because I'm right there with them.
Okay, you don't.
I need them to.
So we know you don't do that.
Yeah.
Right. So that wasn't a good example. Okay. So let's back out to the example before that. You're sitting and you're talking to some of your most consistent, loyal, loving clients and advocates out in the world.
Yeah.
Like these are people who are coming in. They care about what they order. They're cognizant that like restaurants can't be in business if you don't get up out of that table in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, anybody who thinks like it's not Starbucks. Okay. Let's just get past, it's not WeWork. It's not Starbucks. Relax. 90 minutes, 2 hours, 2.5 hours is plenty of time to have a nice, thoughtful dinner and to still be thankful for the fact that you had to pay for it. So I want to make that clear to the entire world while we're together today.
I appreciate that.
But why would you're the visionary, you're the advocate, the greatest advocate of the brand, which makes you the greatest advocate of the people, which you've already clearly stated are your greatest asset.
Yep.
And Gray Ghost and Second Best don't exist without those people, right? They do not. I mean, if Dave doesn't do a good job at being fiscally responsible with the organization, a lot of bad things can happen. If Chef Joe, all of a sudden stops being a Bears fan, a lot of things can go down negatively, right? If Will is not masterful in what he does, not just with the cocktails, but dude, this dude's an operator. Like, I love that guy. I mean, I don't care what Will is serving. Watching him operate, I'm like, he's the man. Of course people love him. Like no shock or surprise, right? Yeah. So if I'm in Gray Ghost and you don't come over for 10 minutes to say hello and greet and be polite and kind to my wife like you are every time, or our guests, whether they're clients or people in the firm, like that's why we stop there. That's why I stopped there Wednesday looking for you, right? Yeah. I just, I say it to you because I suffer from that same thing, right? Alex and I this morning, and she can call it out. I said, tell me a time I've taken a vacation with my family, which are my biggest priority, and I've not taken meetings all week while I'm on vacation with them. Yeah. But vacation, right? So I don't want to hear it if I have to text somebody while they take a day off and they're going to be hurt that, oh, he didn't know it was my day off and he's texting me. Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but I'm not going to carry that burden. Yeah. Because I'm just way further down the conveyor belt. If you want the things we've been able to achieve and create for ourselves, then you just have to do the same nasty, dirty, grinding, rejection-ridden that we've done. And you are welcome to follow us. Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. And I think it's getting harder, or that path is getting more and more blurred because now I can be an influencer at 22 years old and make millions of dollars. We were talking about, so I was like, I've never had more 23-year-olds ask me if I need help with the vision and goals in my life. And I'm like, oh my God, is it because my handle is Detroit Manny that they think like I'm a kid? Like, you don't even know what I do for a living. Like, let alone the blessing of a family I have. And you're asking me if I need help with my life goals? Yeah. It's crazy, right? Yeah, it's insane for sure. Oh. And hats off to him, because I'm sure if given the opportunity, I'd probably look nicer than I do now.
and I'd probably be making a lot of money. But you know, I don't like, my father is the hardest working human I've ever seen, and he was my entire life, yet still always found time to be like everywhere I was. And I now have a child impending, and I'm like, how the hell did he do that? How the hell was he where he needed to be? He still had 3 jobs. Like, I didn't ever think he was absent, but like, he worked his ass off. And when he wasn't working, you know, for financial gain, my mom was working his ass at home for, you know, residential gain. So, you know, it's a weird thing to look at, but I want, you know, especially in the kitchen, because it is just gritty, dirty, nasty, hard work. Like, I just want those people to see that, like, I'm still putting it in. I'm still doing it because that's what it takes. So yes, it is on a different level. And like, there is some days, and it sounds ridiculous, but like, I don't want to come out and say hello to, you know, whoever this person is that I barely know, but they come in all the time. I do it because it's part of the game. And, you know, generally speaking, I'm happy about it. But like, you know, it's hard to separate. People have this social goal when they go out, and then they bring me out there, and I'm like, I'm still in the middle of my work day. Yeah. You know, and it's like, sit down, have a glass of wine with us. And I'm like, I got to do. And I'll do it because my guests mean the world to me. But then it's like, that just tacks on 30, 40, 60 minutes to the end of my day. So now instead of me finishing up at, you know, 1 o'clock in the morning, it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. And those days are still realistic. But like, it's all part of it. Every bit of it is part of it. Every bit of it paints the picture that I want you to look at when you come into Grego's or Second Best or soon to be Basan. So yeah, I do live with the burden. I totally hear what you're saying, and it's the pot calling the kettle black here. Totally. So ironic, but yeah, both something for us to think about, and I think the rest of the world too. I think, but a healthy balance, because now everybody's sitting there thinking like, I gotta have this work-life balance, and like somehow the work-life balance became like life is 90% and work is 10, and like that's up. Well, you're right. That's not it.
I mean, what's more fudge bomb than that is the fact that you are willing to consider that somehow prioritizing your personal life ahead of everything at work can still allow you to provide enough value at work to where you're compensated at the same level. Yeah. And it's like, hey, I tell people all the time, like, if you need more time for yourself, that makes sense. The amount of value, unless you upskill yourself to be able to incrementally add more value in less time to the organization, you might have to be compensated less.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, if you can upskill yourself and show me how, you know, we get 1.5x in half the time, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm your biggest fan, actually.
Yeah.
You like, just added tremendous value to the organization, right? But it's like we can't allow the vision, the integrity of the brand, and all the people that brand supports for their own living, their own quality of life and existence at home with their families, to be compromised by somebody's Instagram impression of work-life balance.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Increasingly difficult for sure. But and I believe in it. Like, I want to have it. And I think my vision of it is a little different right now, because I'm still like kind of young, and I still want, you know, I still want to be there. Yeah. Like, I still want to be a part of it. I still want to cook you a 6-course meal and have you say it's delicious, or on it, whichever one whatever happens.
Never said.
You know, so I do still want to have that, and I do think the pandemic has helped us as an organization, because, you know, we got a 4-day work week for, you know, the most of the people in the restaurant, because those 3 days are like, heck yeah, this is beautiful. Like, now I have 3 days to recover, 4 days on. Yeah. So I think it's just a constant state of assessment, and you know, those of us at the top hopefully figure it out one way or the other. But I think I could find it, you know, I'll always be hunting for the right balance. And also, though, this kid's probably going to adjust some things for me.
Yeah, I love it. And
real quick.
Yeah, so. Obviously, massive congratulations to you and Andrea. Yeah, it's just such an exciting chapter in your lives. I mean,
it's going to be cool, because I've only ever had to think about Well, I've thought about some relationships.
Yeah.
Mostly just Andrea. And
Sure.
I, of course, none other.
100%.
But also, you know, I just think restaurants. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
I eat, sleep, breathe restaurants, and I will. But it's nice to, I like the idea to think like, okay, well, I have something else to shift my attention to. And don't get me wrong, I'm pumped to go home because I got 2 beautiful little fur babies that I adore with all my might. The dogs are number one. I've already warned Andrea that it could be dicey on which one I love more, the dogs or the baby. So we'll see. It'll probably depend on the amount of crying and the amount of sleep that this thing gets, because the dogs are down to sleep for days.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, but so we'll be getting a more healthy work-life balance inevitably, because I'm sure Andrea's not going to leave me off the hook out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great to hear. I've thought about how many times you've spoken about the vision for the restaurants and what you all are building. And one thing that I've always respected and have taken note of is you often will comment about the significance that you want to have in the community and the impact that it's beyond the restaurant. Like, this is your skill set, this is your gift, it's your expertise, it's what you bring to the world first as a gift, but it's wanting to be more, do more, impact more in the community. Where do you think that comes from? And tell me what you're thinking as you look at the next 10 years down the road.
I mean, it easily comes from my parents, and they sort of instilled this idea of being a active member of my community, being an active member of giving back whenever I can, being grateful for what I have. And so we did all kinds of things as kids coming up. And so now, I look at it and it's like, when I worked for Charlie Trotter right out of culinary school, he used to just invite random people that he would meet or that were walking down the street in for lunch to the restaurant. And we weren't open for lunch. And this was a, 2 Michelin star, one of the best restaurants in the world. And he would just pull some random stranger off the street, or he'd bring in, students from a inner city school on the south side for lunch. And like, the cooks would scramble around like crazy, because it wouldn't be like, hey, on Friday we got a lunch and it's Monday. It was like, hey, chef just invited 5 people to sit down. They're already sat. Like, we got to do lunch, and you're like, holy shit. But like, getting to see people experience food like that and an experience like that where they would never have done so is like super cool. And beyond that is like the lessons that we were able to show them and teach them and hopefully inspire them with is like, it was just such a great feeling. And it was like, our greatest asset is going to be able to teach the next generation to continue to do what we're doing, or otherwise, my old is going to be on that line still scrambling eggs. Right. And shit.
We're doing it.
So, but now, fast forward all this way through, and like, I did this in Detroit because I grew up outside of the city. I saw what was happening here, and I wanted to be a part. I knew like there's no way it could be like this forever. And there's a paper from Macomb Daily, 2006, that I stated like, I want to open my first restaurant here in Detroit with my brother. And obviously in 2006, there wasn't anything happening. So I waited it out and I watched it all happen, and so many phenomenal restaurateurs and business people and everything, contributing to what the city does. So I couldn't wait to get into it. And part of it is like, yes, I want your money to fund my business and keep us afloat, but I also want to give back to you. So we do so much, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's tons of extra work. It causes us, late nights, and it costs us money, and it costs us time, and it costs us labor, and I never think about any of it. And all I can think is like, it's so cool to be able to go and feed the homeless, to feed people that are donating money to feed the homeless, or premature babies like you and I met together around. So like that part has been so rewarding, and also, on the low superficial level of it, like, it's also great exposure. So it's wild to me to not see how others don't feel inspired by that and don't do it. And if we all did, we'd have to do it a lot less because everybody'd be a lot better off. But we'll get there.
Well, and I think in the presence of, or in keeping the desire to add value to others as like the front and center commitment we make in life, and treat people well. You know, people talk about authenticity, but how about just like kind authenticity? Yeah. Because people walk around being jerks and disguise it as, oh, I'm just being myself, I'm being authentic. But like, no, like you're literally crushing 30% of the people you walk past with the way you treat them, the way you communicate, the things you say. You know, being mindful of adding value in a kindly, authentic way. I mean, it just really feeds into the rising tide, and the idea that, hey, this rising tide's going to lift all boats, and a tide can only rise with more water. So there has to be a comfort level with you being selfish and saying, I'm doing this because it's great, but I'm also doing this because it's great for the business. Yeah. And the stronger the foundation the business stands on, the more I can do these great things in the community. Would you agree? Yeah. Oh, I agree 100%. And yeah, I think just that moral obligation to just be like a good person is just becoming increasingly difficult to find. And I know there's been many references to the, like, you know, you put your shopping cart back into the little cart carousel when you're done grocery shopping. 100% of the time. And like, yeah. And like that should seem like that's just part of the deal. Like you went here, these people were working for you to be able to do what you needed to do. And like, you're using them for that, for, you know, what you needed. And then it's like, but you can't give it back. You can't just put the card in there. Yes. You know, and it's even like, I tell my team, like, somebody drops a napkin on the floor or whatever, and it's like, you just walk over it. And so like, you know, I don't understand, and I can't wrap my brain around how anyone can have that sense of entitlement where it's like, well, I'm just too good for that. Like, I'm too good to be able to take the time to do this or to do that. And I get it. It's not a cut and dry, you know, scenario every time. The shopping cart is. But yeah, 1,000%. I mean, that is. If you could drive to go get your shit, you can put the shopping cart back, because 99% of the time you found it in a neatly organized fashion, cleaned off somewhere inside that store. Yeah. And it just, like, if you do that, like, you do probably most of the shit in your life right. And it just seems so ridiculous to say, and I, you know, of course, but like, when I saw that first on, you know, whatever social media platform, I was like, yeah, it's a great analogy, because it's dead right. And I was doing it before that, but like, sure, yeah, it just, it makes total sense. And it's just, yeah, I just think about everything. I just can't help it. I want to make everyone's life a little bit better, and I just wish that there was more people like you, and Alex, and me, where you know, that's generally part of the day to day. But when we got bigger problems than that, though, there's a lot. Yeah, totally. So, but that's why it's like the little things, like just live. You know, I'm not like some righteous dude that only does perfection out there by any stretch. I do a lot of dumb shit, but like, generally at the core of it all, like, I care. So, and so do you. And that's why it's like, I'm going to get up early and take a shower, and I'm going to come see Manny, even though I was at work till 3:30 in the morning, you know, because I'm like, this guy, I appreciate you. You're my people. Appreciate you. Yeah. Hey, listen, whatever the hell you spent on that initial auction back in the day for the March Times, wasn't enough. I'm worth at least triple whatever the hell you spent. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, that dinner was dynamite. I don't remember at all what we ate, but we should. We should wrap up with two things. One is, I'll tell the story of how we met, which I think was pretty special, and has always. It's been a story I tell a few dozen times a year about how I think just imperfect but good, kind-hearted people can meet, and something special can come out of that. But before I do that, I wanted to make sure that I wrapped up with asking you about the vision of your group, your organization, your key partners. You know, besides Basan Detroit, well, comment on Basan, if you'd like, for a minute, and then talk to me about what's on the horizon beyond Basan, because I know you're always playing chess. You're a couple moves ahead on the board. Do that, and then we're going to wrap up with how we met.
Cool. Well, yeah, Basan coming late summer, early fall. It's in the district Detroit. We're on the north end of that district, created by Olympia Development there. It's in the former Hotel Eddystone, which is 14-story high-rise. We're at the bottom of it is now housing, affordable and not, or less affordable, I should say, depending. But yeah, first floor, about 2,500 square foot, so similar in size to Grey Ghost, with a little bit nicer kitchen facilities, which I'm enthused for. Pan-Asian street food is sort of the vibe we're going for. We're basing it loosely from the izakayas of Japan, just, you know, the happy hour, shot of beer, cocktail, light bites, you know. That's the goal we're going for here. We're right outside the stadium, Little Caesars, so I'm assuming that should be a nice location to have. And it will really bring us a plethora of people and all walks of life, which I'm all about. I try to be, you know, welcoming and accepting to everyone that we can in our establishments. So yeah, it's gonna be good. And we've got like really great team being assembled to do this thing, and yeah, so we're chomping at the bit. There's drywall up, or not drywall up, excuse me. There's studs up, there's electrical, there's plumbing. So we're on the move, and it's going to be really great. One of my favorite cuisines, and I can't even eat soy anymore. I developed a soy allergy late in life here, which is crushing considering I'm going to open an Asian restaurant. But it's going to be delicious. I'll promise we'll still use it in there. So, but then, you know, as far as the vision, you're not wrong. There is another spot hanging in the balance out there behind this one. But we're sort of treading lightly. Right before the pandemic, we had just purchased a old church, and we were going to turn it into a catering space and a commissary kitchen, and like, you know, I was all in. We wrote the business plan, ready to go. We bought the church, and then the pandemic hit, and then we called them up. Thank God it was still pending from zoning. We're like, yeah, just kidding. That's probably not going to happen. But, you know, the fluidity's there, I think, because I don't know. I don't know what the world's going to demand. I don't know what the trends are going to do. And if somebody comes to me with some brilliant idea, I'm going to be like, hot dog, Chicago style hot dog carts. Let's go. Whole fleet of them. Let's go.
Breakfast taco trucks, though, man. I mean, come on. Why you're still doing the hot dog thing with me?
It's the breakfast part that really freaks me out, man. That's early.
You just got to get another. You got to get another Will on the team.
Yeah,
that's it, man. Will 2.0.
It would cry. I would love it. You know what? I'd love to have it if we could just. We weren't relying on it for like just solid income.
Totally.
We were just having some fun. We busted out at the park, and we were like, hey, I pull up in the street, bring the whole Mass Mutual crew.
That's it.
Like, hey, what's up? Got breakfast burritos. You're down there slinging it.
You think you wouldn't sell out? Come on, you sell out every day.
We'd murder it.
Yeah.
What do you mean, me? We'd be both of us, man.
Yeah,
I need that. I need your heritage.
I need
that expertise in the burrito world. You'll bring legitimacy to me.
Well, in the taco world. Because Mexicans, I mean, that's not really a thing, right? Like what happened was some business person decided that, hey, if you could just make a taco that's 3x, now you could
just Americanize
it. Sell that for 4x.
1,000%.
That was more of a Warren Buffett move.
Yeah, you know, it'd be cool if you put entirely too much food inside a giant flour tortilla and then you ate it, and then that just became the normal.
I've never hung out in Mexico and seen the burrito on the menu.
I don't think so, but you know, America's done some great things and some not so great things.
Capitalism.
World.
What do you mean you don't want supersize your meal? Wait, the medium has 700 calories in it. The supersize has 2,000. So,
are you eating fast food? Let me ask you that.
Never.
Never. No fast food.
No.
Road trip. You're cruising.
Zero.
Like you got to eat. I know you got some
Starbucks.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And she packs a cooler everywhere.
I respect it.
Packs a cooler everywhere.
I knew that was going to be your answer.
I mean, you know, Birdie. Like she's packing a cooler for any trip, bringing her own food. She's leaving nothing to chance.
Yeah,
and
so legit.
Yeah,
she runs a tight ship, legit, man. She runs a tight ship.
That's one of the reasons I'm not 400 pounds. So
I'm on my way because Andrea's got them pregnancy snacks going. I've never had so much food in my house. I'm just like, She's like, eat
I love
this when you get home. So 3 a.m, I'm like,
you got to send her our love.
We're
going to wrap up.
Yeah.
So John and I met. I moved to Michigan. I'm living in affordable housing at that time, temporary, because Samantha, our children were young, and they had to stay back in Chicago and finish school. And so I get here about 4 months ahead of them, and between a hotel and affordable housing, I'm here. They land that summer, and at the end of the summer, there was a March of Dimes event, and the March of Dimes had an auction, and one of the auction experiences was a private dinner in your home with Mr. Chef Vermiglio, Chef John, and Grey Ghost. And as you will walk the pre-pandemic March of Dimes events, they'd have a number of different restaurants and really successful, well-known, kind, generous chefs, all displaying, what they thought was something special that they could share with the attendees. And then you get to vote, and then someone gets the chef jacket and blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, Chef John always giving that extra inch, right? Always giving that extra inch, that extra mile, said, hey, we'll auction off a private dinner. So of course I show up. We had been introduced months before, when I first moved here, by an old colleague of mine, Sam Rodriguez, which was John's brother's roommate in college at Loyola.
Frat bro.
And I was so overwhelmed by my new role in Michigan that I never reached out. I show up, I immediately see Grey Ghost. I immediately meet Chef John, and I'm like, oh man, we were supposed to meet. Like, this is great, right? It goes up to bid. We get it. We buy the private dinner. We host the private dinner within a few months, and I think that's all she wrote. And so there's 3 things that stand out to me about that. One is the power of a good nominator. And I think the fact that Sam was somebody that Dave held in high regard and John had many good experiences with, and that's how we were introduced, that was meaningful. So we were already kind of winning in the potential runway of a relationship, right? Number 2 is the mindset of abundance and being generous every time you can be generous. And so I think the fact that we were there together at an event that we were very proud to attend when I first arrived in Michigan, and I think that we were both being an abundant thinker and operator that day, and as generous as we could be with our time, talent, and treasures to end up connecting. I think number 2, that's really a big takeaway of mine. Anywhere we can pour into other people and other opportunities, I think is meaningful. And then number 3, I think it's just the courage to do it. It's not always easy giving everything away simply because a charity or an organization asks. Would you agree?
Definitely.
And
it's
not always easy to outbid really high profile, successful people that have 100x what you have, but you really say, this happened for a reason, and I'm going to have the courage to make this commitment. And so now, I've benefited from it 1,000x in terms of our relationship and the rapport. And I think the way we hold each other in regard. And to me, that's invaluable. I recently had a conversation with somebody who said to me that they wanted to make certain that I valued their worth. And I thought to myself, I'm like, not only do I believe that I pay well above scale in almost every role within our firm, but then I also say, like, how many CEOs are like me?
Right.
And how many people actually take the extra time to do the extra things, to close the restaurant out 2 hours later than everybody else, to still make my way around every table. And so I think, like, well, how much is the relationship, the respect, the love that I give out? How much is that worth? Right?
Yeah.
And you do the same. Always admired watching you. You're a real operator.
Appreciate it.
When I think about kind authenticity, you're definitely at the top of my list for that. Is there any last thing that you think, as people think about visiting one of your establishments, becoming an advocate of yours or wanting to work with you, something that you'd want to leave behind for people to take away?
Wow, that's a loaded question. God, I guess it just want everyone to just be grateful, right? It's like, grateful that you're there, be grateful that you're eating food,
incredible food.
Like, you know, but having that mindset already puts us off to a great start. And like, I mean, you embody that. I think I had to like kick you out of the kitchen when I was over there because you were like, all right, what do I got to do? And I'm like, bro, you don't understand how this, you don't understand what you bought here, you know? But it was like, I love that. Like when we're battling it out of who can be nicer, now that's the kind of battle that I want to have. Like, how can I upstage what you're doing and you're trying to do the same thing to me? And it was like, you know, only to better each other and to better the experience that we were having. So like, that's cool.
Yes.
So that's the idea. Stop popping on your place to review. Like, you know, you don't need to leave me a negative review. Tell me to my face because I want to make it happen. You know, like I try. Sometimes I have to tell tables like, well, I don't want you to have a bad time. So I opened a restaurant so that you have a bad time. Like, but we can work together. Like you can also recognize that maybe we make mistakes and maybe things don't go the right way. But like, I want to fix it. I want you to want to fix it, not to just bash me and tear me down. So if we could all kind of navigate the world that way in any facet that we are in, we'll be all right, I think.
Yeah, I love that. So as you said that, and let me just add this really quick. What you made me think about is the difference between somebody who has a malicious intention and is like intentionally wanting to like make it harder for us or for you or for me or whoever, right? Versus someone who really has the vision and the aspiration of like us all getting better. And if we're not pleased with something, why not go back and do the things that everybody else did before these ridiculous phones and social media platforms opened up? And we just said, hey, you know, thank you. We were happy to be here. It's our first Friday night out in 3 months since we had the baby. Like everything seems slow or this was off or, you know, the server seems irritated when I ask questions. Like, why not just say it to the person
so we could do something
and help
about
them
it.
Get better?
Because like it's like I can't do anything when you're at home at midnight bashing me with a 1-star review. But while you're sitting in front of my face, I will like give you the world to try and make
a list
it
of
right.
those people.
There's some legendary ones. Don't dig too deep on the review sites.
Chef John, restaurateur. I call him a serial entrepreneur. There's so much more that goes into a restaurant than the food. And just someone that I, you know, very fond of, respect a ton, building one of the greatest teams in that industry that I've ever seen. And definitely to my boys, Dave, Chef Joe, and Big Will, the Will Experience. I'm going to make t-shirts with that on it.
He'd love it. Just what he
man, hats off to you guys and the teams that you serve and lead.
Much
love and
right
good
back
luck.
to you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Truly.